Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Should You Play, where I show you some spoiler-free gameplay and give you my thoughts after playing new games for a few hours, while also highlighting and checking out at least one of the PlayStation Plus games for each month. In this video, I'm playing one of the December 2024 PlayStation Plus games, Aliens Dark Descent, the real-time tactics game that was inspired by the Alien film series and released in 2023. After Team Fortress 2, Civilization 6, and Borderlands 2, the game I've logged the most hours on in Steam is XCOM. I love strategy games, but unfortunately not many of them fully deliver on the level of detail that many of us expect from the genre. Now, while XCOM and Aliens Dark Descent are both within the same subgenre of strategy game, there are a lot of pretty clear differences between the two, so let's talk about the game.
Alright, I'll let you get on.
Aliens Dark Descent takes place in the year 2198, years after the original Alien film trilogy takes place. You primarily play as Deputy Administrator Mako Hayes, and shortly after the game begins, you follow her dealing with a catastrophic xenomorph outbreak, as well as with the aftermath of the invasion where she and Sergeant Harper work together to repair the ship, gather resources, and study their new enemies.
What the hell is happening? Everyone's dying in there!
Mako and Harper are pretty much the only two characters you're going to care about in this game though, as the Marines you control during the core of the gameplay don't really have a lot of depth or personality to them, and as you'll likely find out while playing, may end up getting replaced as you continue launching missions.
We're Marines. That's the job.
Some of them might even start to annoy you, because when you're not actively working on mission objectives, they'll be spouting the same 3 lines of dialogue over and over again.
It's quiet. Too quiet.
Aliens Dark Descent is a real-time tactics game where you direct a squad of Marines through dangerous environments to search for various objectives. The game displays mostly in a top-down view as you command your squad to check out various settings, tell them where to go, what devices to set up, and what objects to interact with. Each mission will have a main objective, and most of them will have multiple side objectives as well, but for the most part, you're free to roam levels at your own leisure. Just make sure you're not overstaying your welcome and attracting the attention of the local hunters.
Next time, do it quietly. Each shot might draw these creatures' attention.
When you're not actively on a mission, you'll be at the USS Otago managing your squad and resources between deployments with the barracks, workshop, command deck, medical quarters, and laboratory. Each of these locations are important because they'll allow you to gain insight into your Marines, unlock new weapons, treat your wounded, and use biological samples to study the xenomorphs, giving your squad an edge in every potential future conflict.
One can never have too much information about one's enemies.
The game also features a tutorial that helps you learn all of the controls and concepts, but it's important to note that there is a fairly steep learning curve at the start. And while it covers the basics, it can be a lengthy and somewhat disengaging process to get through before the game really begins.
So, hostile critters or wiped out colony? Hunslet being Hunslet? How'd you find your first day in the Corps?
One of the only real issues I have with the gameplay itself is that the button controls aren't always super clear. While on missions, you'll sometimes be presented with multiple options on the screen, and while it may feel intuitive to use the D-pad or joystick on console to go through them, you'll often actually need to use the L1 and R1 buttons instead, which makes me inclined to believe that the game was originally designed with PC players in mind, rather than console players. You'll need to rewire your brain a little bit for situations like these, but once you get into the habit, it shouldn't be too much of an issue. Now, if your strategy game of choice is XCOM like mine is, combat is where Aliens Dark Descent differs the most, because you should really avoid combat at all costs, if you're able to.
What the hell are you talking about?
There are 5 classes of Marines, including Medic, Gunner, Sergeant, Recon, and Techer, and they're all capable soldiers. But at the end of the day, they're still just humans fighting off xenomorphs, and they'll get injured, weakened, stressed, and even go through trauma. So the more you keep them out of harm's way while completing missions, the better the chances are that you'll keep them alive and healthy.
You've got a squad of big, strong Marines to keep you safe.
Losing Marines can be especially tough, because not only are their deaths permanent, but you'll also have to train a new Marine from a lower level of experience, meaning that your squad will be slightly weaker than it was before, and you'll have to be that much more careful on missions.
I'm not dying here.
When you are in combat, though, you can command your squad to do a myriad of different things, including laying down suppressive fire, placing motion sensors, setting up turrets, and hunkering down in a room while you wait for an onslaught to calm down.
Contact! Line him up!
Take a breath. Watch that stretch.
It's frozen!
Aliens Dark Descent also features a slowdown mechanic, which lets you slow time down in high-pressure situations so you can plan your next move or order a Marine to take a new action. Time does keep moving, but it gives you just enough opportunity to make important decisions without worrying about a xenomorph immediately taking down your entire squad.
Take him down!
Marines, reload!
When it comes to the graphics, Aliens Dark Descent nails the industrial and gritty sci-fi horror feel of the Aliens universe. You'll be exploring dark, cramped hallways and derelict stations that have a good amount of detail on them, despite a fair amount of repeated assets. And when a xenomorph appears, the combination of its threat and the tense atmosphere creates a genuinely stressful experience.
Here's one. Shit, I know we're here.
Contact! Now that's what I'm talking about!
Design-wise, the xenomorphs had looked great since the 1979 film, but when they're just walking around in the game, they appear to be a little too robotic in nature, really looking more like video game enemies rather than real-life monsters. Additionally, the lip sync in the cutscenes to be slightly off as well. While the characters' movements generally match the voice acting, there are a few moments, especially within the first few opening scenes, where the lip sync doesn't align properly with the words, making some of the sequences a bit awkward to watch.
Chief Administrator, I'm showing a weight discrepancy on the Bentonville's manifest. They just asked for a takeoff accreditation, but half the shipment is still at dock.
On the technical side, there are a handful of issues. Most notably, button input was really inconsistent at the start of the game, and I ran into more than a handful of situations where the game would instruct me to press a certain button to proceed, but wouldn't register the input at all and force me to reload. One of the other bugs that seemed to pop up quite a bit was members of my squad unintentionally walking backwards, which honestly didn't affect the gameplay, but was still a bit distracting. The bigger issue I had while playing was a full game crash though, which happened to me during one of the heavier xenomorph attacks. And the reason it was such a big issue was because the game doesn't have a manual save feature, and the autosave system hadn't kicked in for a while, so I ended up losing quite a bit of progress.
God damn it, alright.
Aliens Dark Descent isn't perfect, but it's still a pretty good addition to the strategy game genre. The game starts really slowly, with a tutorial sequence that just did not interest me at all. But once you've reached the meat of the game, it becomes a lot more fun to play. There's also a lot of replay value for fans of the genre, however I think that casual fans might find the game to be a bit too involved, even on the easier difficulty levels. And the game does tell you that that might be an issue before you even start playing. That being said, if you're looking for a tactical game with a mix of resource management and stealth elements, Aliens Dark Descent might be the game for you.
How did you guess?
As always though, this is just my opinion. If you're just starting to plot out your battle plan, or if you're already actively engaging with the xenomorphs, let me know in the comments what you think of Aliens Dark Descent.
Welcome to the Colonial Marines.
Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.
They've seen us!
Line him up!
Who else wants some?
They got our scent! Look alive!
You like that, huh?
We're too late for these poor souls. Killed from the inside. Bad way to go.